Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you had the best possible holidays possible. I have been talking to some of you, and for some lucky people, this Christmas, and I know more than one case, was a chance to see long-lost family members and to reunite. So congratulations. And hopefully 2018 will be a year where all our raised children and our raised moms, dads, grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters are finally reunited. So I want to share some interesting news before we move forward. First of all, if you haven't already, you can now buy your own snazzy Erasing Family shirt that says #ErasedMom, #ErasedDad, or #ErasedFamily. They're only available for a few more days. We post the links all the time on our Facebook. It's also on the erasingfamily.org webpage. So take advantage of this. Get your own snazzy shirt. They're black with white lettering. They look way cooler than this one. And the proceeds go to helping us finishing our film. You can also, if you haven't done so already, make a tax-deductible contribution at erasingfamily.org. Help us finish our film because we are so close. I'm hoping to be done filming within a month. And I have been able to find so many reunited kids, teenagers and adult kids who got back with their families, and the Erasing Family documentary is going to give erased families a roadmap to reunification. It's going to encourage the kids to get in touch with their erased moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and also show family members what they can do to encourage this reunification happening. And we'll explain to everybody, the families involved and society at large, why does this happen? Who's making money off of this? Why is the family court system failing families in the United States, in Canada, in South America, in Thailand, in Europe, the world over? So it's going to be a groundbreaking documentary. I was in Hollywood yesterday talking with people who gave me some advice to give the film the biggest exposure possible. We're also going to be at the Sundance Film Festival this year. Very exciting. And we want this film not just to be a film that has impact within the community of people suffering, but that gets to everybody. Because most people who are suffering don't know that why they're suffering. They don't know this has a name. They don't know that they are not alone. And that is why this film is so important. So again, get your t-shirts if you haven't already. It's on our website where you can order. We have the link on Facebook, #ErasedMom, #ErasedDad, #ErasedFamily. If you can, make a donation. Any donation of $50 or more gets your kid a dedication in the film if you choose. And we're so close to being done. So we're nearing the finish line. Now for today's topic, which is, and please start commenting, asking questions in the chat. I'll see them, and as I go, I will answer them. So why do we use the term erased? Why do we say erased family members? You know, what's with the term? The reason why we chose this term is because it's so easy to understand, it's so impactful, and it's a very strong term. It hurts to hear it, and that's part of the reason why we're using it, because it gets people's attention. But the most important thing is that when I talk about this project to people who I don't know, there's basically three responses. The first response, people over 40 who are like, I don't believe you. This doesn't happen in the family courts. If you are a fit parent, you can see your kids. If you are a fit parent, you don't have a custody battle. There's always abuse. There's always some reason why you can't see your kids. Or there are people who've had a personal experience with this and they get it right away. But what's interesting is almost all the people who I talk to are under the age of 30. As soon as I say I'm doing a documentary about kids who've had a parent erased by the family courts, boom, I don't need to explain anymore. They go right into, this happened to me, this happened to my boyfriend, this happened to my girlfriend. You know, it's so simple and so easy to understand. And a lot of people, you know, who are new to social media, what they don't realize is the hashtag, it's a way to create a topic. It's a way to kind of brand what we're talking about. And a lot of times what I'm seeing on social media, and something to be concerned with is just, and to improve, is just way too much text, way too much drama, way too much information, instead of keeping the message simple and keeping the message about love and reunification. And as much as this, as crazy as the stories can be, as crazy as the facts can be, you need to be clear with people. You need to explain it in terms that they can understand. We can't let a lack of understanding, a lack of easy to use language keep us from reuniting with our kids and reuniting with our families. Are there any questions yet? Anything anybody want to ask about how to talk with, I'm calling them millennials. I'm technically a millennial. I'm right on the cusp. Some of you on here might be parents who are millennials. So this is the time to talk about how to use social media, use the media to reach out to young people. And also this is in preparation because tomorrow we are going to ask people to change their profile pic to #erased. Now you can take a photo of yourself holding up the sign that says erased mom, erased dad, erased sibling, erased kid, or you can use our frame. All you have to do is like our page, Erasing Family on Facebook, very simple, and then go to change my profile pic. And in the scroll down window, there'll be a little box that says, use the erased frame. Boom, you don't even have to take a new picture, super easy. And tomorrow, January 10th, there's an action that is being organized by a supporter to get everyone, as many people as possible, to change their profile pics. And we'll be doing more of that, but the more people who can change it, even just for a day, and then putting in your status why you've been erased, keeping it short, keeping it simple. Look at one of our last videos, how to tell your story if you don't know how. Never mentioning your ex, because as much as you dislike them, they are half of your kids' DNA. So Elizabeth Colgrove Barnett says, do you address it when it happens outside the courts? So Elizabeth Colgrove, can you be a little more specific about what you mean? Do you mean like not all cases are judicialized? Ideally, when there's a problem in a family and that problem is so big that it prevents a kid from having a loving relationship with a fit parent, there should be some place where families can go for help. Right now, that only place where people can go to is the adversarial family court system, unfortunately, which can be very complicated, take a long time, and cost a ton of money. Sometimes people don't have this money to go and file motions. So there are cases that we do deal with all the time where people are unable to continue in family court or go to family court. A lot of the people who we talk to, they don't have a court order saying that they can't see their kids. What they have is, often they have a court order saying that they can, and it's not being enforced. So the important thing is that to be super clear about this, we are focusing on cases of divorce and separation when this happens within the conflict, just because we can't embark on everything in one film. Raphael and Franco says, thank you for all your efforts to unite families. Thank you, Raphael, for supporting. When the father does it when they are older than 18, parent alienating. Got it. So this started when they were over 18, or the kids are over 18 now, Elizabeth? If you could just type in your comment, because that will help understand why. What I just want to make very clear is there are families that don't get along. There are kids who choose not to have a great relationship with a parent, or they're incapable for a certain period of time to have a great relationship. That's not what we're talking about. That unfortunately happens in life. People like a parent more than another. What we're talking about is when a child rejects that parent with no good reason, because they've been told to, or because their situation has become so stressful that they don't want to see that parent. So just because a kid is like, oh, I don't want to talk to you now, I'm really busy, that's not being erased. Being erased is when the kid says, oh, that's my birth mom, that's my sperm donor. You're not my parent. I wish I didn't have your same last name. Stuff like that is what we're talking about. So they started when they were over 18. It'd be very interesting, Elizabeth, to know a little bit more. So I think if they're being manipulated, yeah, that counts. And unfortunately, you know, or fortunately, the courts can't do anything when the kids are over 18. They've aged out the system. But what's good, the good news is that being over 18, unless they are 24 hours with their father, they're adults, and there's ways that you can message them without being stopped by another parent. Blair Craze, I am for some reason not wanting to be very public about this. My concern is that my ex and his family would see this and catch on to the fact that it leads to reunification and somehow block them from ever seeing my tribute. My oldest is 14 and will be an adult within 5 years. I don't want to blow any chance of that. Is that irrational? I don't know. My profile picture is a raised frame. Thank you for all of your advocacy. Well, thank you, Blair Craze, for using the frame. So the long answer is, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how people are going to react. Sometimes this helps people see what's going on. It could be used as leverage. You know, sure, I'll take down the frame if I can have better access to my kids, because right now I'm feeling erased. Prove me wrong. That could be one thing, but each case is different. When I started this, most of the parents who I worked with and talked with were literally, they had no other option. They had exhausted the entire justice system, the legal system at their disposal. They had tried everything, and they're kind of like, it really can't get any worse because I'm at zero contact for many years. So each case is different, and you should never put yourself or your kids in harm's way. But also, if we don't talk about this, how can things change? So I often ask, you know, where are you now? And, you know, it's like, I think if you say like, oh, they'll see this, it leads to reunification, so they'll block me, that seems like a lot of thinking, but they could get angry at you for putting up a sign. I also have, oh, hi Joyce, my sister's online. Good to see you. I also have Meyer Vanderschaft says many courts further alienate the target when speaking of alienation. That is correct. A lot of courts issue gag orders when you speak about this. So what is important is when a gag order is issued, we haven't started doing this, but this could be interesting to collect how many people do get gag orders. But also it's so important that whatever you say on social media should be about your case as simple as possible, and never, ever, ever badmouth the other parent. Because if you badmouth the other parent, that could be used against you, no matter how true it is. And it sounds like you could be accused of harassing, you could be accused of a lot of things. So you want to keep all the stuff factual, and you want to keep everything about your case and about the injustice. And a lot of people get on social media to rant. They call names. They will put up private texts that they receive from people. Remember, everything that you write now can be used against you, not just in the court of law, but the court of public opinion, which is why your message should always be about love and hope, and being very specific about the injustices you're talking about. So it's fine I think it's fine to say, this judge ordered this is what the courts decided. It's nothing to be like, this evil piece of shit judge did this. Don't say that. And even if you're in a closed group, anything you write down can be used against you, even if in a private messaging, because how many times have we seen on Facebook people putting text messages that other people wrote and publishing them? So if it's written down, someone will see it. You know, and venting is for your friends in real life. Venting is for your therapist. Venting is for a support group. Venting is not to write stuff down on the internet where it can be seen for anywhere, which is different from registering a complaint and a protest. Venting is something that should be kept private. Michael Lazarus says, have you thought of sending information of the film to California state legislators? Well, part of our plan with the Erasing Family film, when it is completed, and for it to be completed, we are going to be finishing filming in about a month, and then we're going to enter the editing process, which the editing process, if everything goes super smoothly and super quickly, takes about 6 to 8 months. Because we want this film to get great reviews. We want people to see it. We want people to talk about it. We want to be a game changer. And that's not a quick video that you throw up there. It has to be a video that can get critical acclaim and have wide distribution. So when the film is finished, one of our plans is to get a copy of the film to everybody who works in the family court system, every judge, every lawyer, every custody evaluator, and all of the legislators who are working on reform. Now that sounds crazy, but thanks today to the wonderful powers of the internet, it just means sending a link to people. So that's why we're raising money now, so we don't have to sell the movie to a distributor that does not believe in what we're doing, that we don't have to put the movie behind a paywall and charge people a lot of money to see it. So your donation is enabling the film to get out there and all the accompanying educational materials. So not just the California legislator, but every legislator all over the world. All we need is a list, emails, we send them a link. And then of course, if people want to project the film in their state capitals, have community screenings, that's even better, more powerful, because often the discussion that comes afterwards is what's so important. Christopher Herbal, what if I get bashed anyway? When they beat you down, you keep on going, you keep your head high, and you return hate with love. You return the negative comments with positive comments. You always take the high road, I know a lot of people aren't fans of the Obamas who are listening, but when they go low, you go high. Because that way nobody can criticize your actions, and you put the other person in evidence if you're calm, and really being calm, really being loving, really being hopeful to resolve this, right? Because if it's in a passive aggressive way, it doesn't work. But let's think about the great change makers in history. Martin Luther King Jr. He was not a pushover. Okay? He was a strong person with convictions who put his life on the line, who put his freedom and the liberty on the line. And often when we tell this history, we don't talk about how he was almost lynched, how he was extrajudicially kidnapped, all that he suffered before he was assassinated. But he never stooped down to the level of his enemies. He never responded with hate, and we need to be the same. And that does not mean being weak. It is the ultimate strength to respond with hatred, to respond with bashing, to respond with bigotry, with love. Because that's what we want to teach our kids. That's what we want to teach society, that we are love. Doris Null, stay in the moment. I heard Regina Marie Devin, Valentino, keep a journal to vent. Yes, that is a great idea. Perfectly free. I have a journal right here. And I put all of my emotions and thoughts in it, and it's very helpful, and it costs a few bucks for the price of the journal. Jessica Dunn, and that can include journals. Be careful if you make comments about keeping journals. If the courts see, find out, and it can be subpoenaed. It can be subpoenaed. Journals can be used as evidence. But don't go on social media and be like, I'm not calling you a bitch because I write it in my journal. Be smart about this. Angela Bernier, are you looking for more families that are erased? Everybody who wants to be in the film can potentially be in the film. Go to erasingfamily.org and go to share your story. Record a video tribute for your kids and fill out the survey. And we'll be using some of the videos that we select in our film. Right now we are focusing on talking to kids. So we want to be able to talk to kids, and we'll be reaching out to more kids, but we are nearing the completion of the film. That doesn't mean we're going to stop going, but we have so many stories from the parents. We really want to hear from the kids. So Jessica Dunn says, journals are great. I'm just making a point that journals can be used in court. You are absolutely correct. They can be used as evidence. My dad kept journals for years, then got them to a notary and used them against my mom to get her erased, and mom's journals were subpoenaed. Yeah, this is an extreme case, but everything that you write down can be used against you. And also, a journal can be used as evidence in court. A lot of times lawyers will say, keep a journal, and that can, you can document mistreatment in a journal. Then Stephen Meehan says, nobody who is hoarding, hiding kids from another parent wants to be exposed. They have in fact achieved their goal of erasing the other. The kids are now fully graduated, indoctrinated in the goal. Why would erased parents fear pissing off these criminals and their victims? Chicken egg. This preceded my post by years. So my reaction is not a cause. Fuck them. Stick your head through the rose garden in the front yard we're all buried in. So, Stephen, I agree with you, but deep breath. You know, people say that people who do this are criminals or they're evil. That might be true, but there's still the other half of your kid. There are people who are suffering a sickness, and that sickness is not being treated. And our ultimate goal is for kids to be able to have relationships with all of their family. Obviously, that sometimes cannot happen. Sometimes one must limit contact with someone who is, you know, abusive or obnoxious or causing harm. But, you know, it's not about winning. It's not about convincing your kid that the other side is wrong. It's about letting them develop a neutral mind. I was talking to someone yesterday, they said something great. You try to change your family. You try to change them and change them and change them, and at one point you gotta say, that's how they are, and I'm not gonna let it bother me. And that's the point that we're trying to get the kids to go to. It's not saying one side's better than the other. It's like, these are the sides I have. What can I learn from it? What can I learn not to repeat? So I have Maya Vanderschaft, unfortunately courts don't respond to the healthy parent, instead eat up and run with the false allegations. So this happens a lot, and this is why, you know, we're doing the film to expose what's happening. John Paul Pacheco Besserman, keep up the good work. The more we talk about, the better. Thank you, Christopher Ripple. How do I get a t-shirt like yours? Well, Christopher Rippey, go to erasingfamily.org and order one. You only have a few days left. They are a little better than these in that they're black. They say hashtag erase dad, hashtag erase mom, or hashtag erase family for all the other family members. And there's a minimum order that we must sell, and we're close, but we're not there yet. So for people to get their shirts, don't worry. If we don't sell enough, you don't get charged. But if in the next 5 days we don't sell at least a few more t-shirts, nobody gets one. So buy one for a friend, buy one for a family member. We kept the price super low so people can use these and get the word out. So please do that. Alienation has no winners, correct. Judy Cook, my twin daughters turned 29 this Sunday. Congratulations. Alienation has gone for 10 years now. They have me blocked from Facebook, phone, LinkedIn, etc. I miss them. My folks miss them. It's devastating. It is completely devastating. So the good news, Judy, is that there's bad news and good news. The bad news is there's no magic formula to bring your kids back. We're hoping that the film will help open their eyes and get people talking about this so they realize that they're not alone. But what you can do in the meantime is take care of yourself and work on yourself. So when that chance comes and they want to reconnect with you, which might be because they run into you in the street, they get some new information, they're at a crisis, you never know, you have the strength, you have the calmness to be a welcoming force for them. Hope Granado, my stepdaughter is almost 20 and her mom will not allow her to speak to her dad even though he is sick with cancer. Oh my God, that's horrible. What do you recommend to try to break this horrible cycle and to reach out to his daughter? You need to find a place where you know her mother is not intercepting the messages. And I would at first keep it, you know, very light, very positive, and very short. And, you know, just, you know, and don't guilt trip her, but just, you know, you can, you know, something like, hey, we love you, miss you, love to see you. So your dad, so you know your dad's having some major health issues, and he you know, he'd love to be able to text with you or give you a phone call, you know, if you think calling's too much. And then what I've heard from so many kids and say, you know, if you want to meet at a neutral place, like a coffee shop with a friend, why don't we do that? Maybe you'd be like, maybe you'd want to meet with me as your stepmom. You can say as your dad's wife if stepmom is too hard. And just talk about stuff. And, you know, bring a friend, bring 5 friends if you want. And we want to see what's going on and see what can make it right, at least know how you're doing. It's hard. There's no magic word. There's no magic formula with this. If there's any mutual friend of hers that could reach out and get her the message, that could be great too. Marianne Masters, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. Sorry to hear that. The court separated the 3 daughters and sent them to different homes in different states to live. Wow, that's horrible. They made the abuser go to anger management and was given custody of the youngest. I fled for my life, had little contact. I hope they deserve so much more. I hope you're able to see your kids soon. Daisy Torres Pertz, have you come across cases where children have a developmental disability? It would be great if you interview situations like this one that make it impossible to one day mend the situation. I have heard of cases of children who have autism or Down syndrome who are caught up in this, and obviously if you can manipulate a child who is a genius, and I've interviewed kids who are incredibly smart and articulate who this happened to. Imagine how much easier it is to someone who has a developmental disability. So it does happen. I haven't found someone to interview in the film. As you can imagine, those people are hard to find and hard to interview. Meyer Vander Schaaf, reunification can happen unexpectedly. In college, I spoke openly about PA with the girl next to me, and she realized what had happened to her whole life, and at 19 lives with her dad while she continues classes. Wow, Myra, that's awesome. That's why it's so important to talk about this, you know, like imagine if we lived in a world where nobody talked about how bad smoking was. We'd still be smoking like the 1950s, you know, puffing away. And I used to smoke cigarettes, right? Imagine we didn't talk about domestic violence. You know what people used to say to domestic violence victims? It's a private matter. You probably did something to deserve it. And I'm not talking about 200 years ago. I'm talking about, you know, 20, 30 years ago. That was the common response. This is not a public issue. And now look at how much things have changed, right? So the more we get people talking about it, the more we say, well, maybe you should hear both sides. Maybe you're missing love. Maybe you are missing, you know, a family. And I really feel after talking to so many kids that even if the other side of the family isn't healthy, engaging with them, knowing that side of your story enables you to not repeat the mistakes. When we run away, we are doomed to repeat our past, which is why so many people I talk to will say, I can't see my kids. And when I was little, I couldn't see my dad or my mom, and it just repeats. And we're almost doing the kids to either be the alienated kid or the alienator in this case. So it's like, that's why the cycle is so important. And by looking at your family and engaging with them, you're able to not repeat the issues that they have. If you run away and say, oh, that's not my mom, nothing to do with me, you repeat that. You are going to cycle through it, because it's only by confronting trauma, looking at it, and not letting it have that emotional hold over us, by developing a neutral mind when we look at our family, can we move forward. And I feel that a lot of advice that's given to young people is, if your family makes you uncomfortable, don't see them, withdraw from them, is so incorrect. You should, because I did that for a very long time. I had no contact with anyone in my family. And a lot of kids who go through divorce, when it's stressful, they're just like, I don't want to talk to my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my siblings, nobody, because my family is so crazy. And I was like that for almost a decade, at least a decade, if not more. And as soon as I started engaging with my family again, I was able to grow so much as a person, because I was able to really look at, you know, their faults, and we all have faults, and then be like, I don't want to repeat that in my life. And, you know, even when I see myself doing something that one of my parents did, I can now say, like, do I want to be like that? No. But if you just push them away, you don't engage with that. You're not doing the work that you're meant to do. Myra Vander Schaaf says, you can make that difference even if you can't in your own case, so don't stay silent, being down. Knowledge is power, friends. So true. Only by talking about this can we begin to educate people, and talking about it in a way that connects with people. No big psychological fancy terms. Keep it simple and just be like, you know, it's important for people to know where they came from. Your identity is important. Tonya Lily Bryan says, my 2 teenage daughters have been alienated from me for more than 5 years along with their father and stepmother. Two years ago, the father and stepmother separated and the stepmother alienated my children away from their own father. Wow. Their dad and I are now working together in cooperation but cannot seem to get our daughters away from the poison of the stepmother, so they are still living with her. Wow. Not the first time I've heard this, unfortunately. This is very common that the step-parent alien is the one who's doing this, who's alienated. So it's tough. There's hope. So, you know, showing them that you love them in positive ways, in small ways, not making them feel guilty about not talking to you, always offering to apologize and move forward. These are such powerful things. And then also educating others so that they know what's going on, that it's not just a normal choice for a kid to abandon their mother and their father to live with a step-parent. Marianne Masters, I see them once a year. They know that they're loved. I'm sure that because there's no win, but you can share positive things and reach out in a positive manner to the kids. Yes, not just power. I moved from California to Texas. Distance saved me. Now I help victims through volunteering. That's awesome to help others. I can't afford to live in Los Angeles, and his family is basically who's there. They cast me out, basically. Wow, that's so sad. So any more questions, comments? Does anyone have a question about the action tomorrow, which is to change your Facebook profile photo to the erased sign or to use our profile frame? If there's any questions about that, this is a great time. Again, someone asked about t-shirts. Go to raisinghealing.org, order a t-shirt. So I heard from, Amy Weiner is talking about how she was erased from her son's life who has a mild form of autism, and then when he had a violent outburst, his own father kicked him out of the house. That's horrible. And I'm amazed how many kids who are erased from one parent then eventually they get kicked out of the house. 11 is very young, and it's very horrible because he suffers from, you know, a mental disability. But so many kids, they get kicked out when they don't go along with the program in some way. Rochelle Colburn, how do we better educate the mental health professionals about parental alienation? So I would say that it depends. I think sometimes using the term parental alienation cannot always be the best way to go about it because it's not really a recognized scientific term. I think that mental health professionals are best educated by other mental health professionals and academics. That's what they're going to listen to. If you show up with a brochure, it can be a little like, you know, going to the doctor and be like, oh, you diagnosed me with heart disease? Well, I printed this out off the internet. So I think facilitating people who are knowledgeable to go to speak to other health professionals. So working with others to bring speakers, professionals, educational materials when the film comes out, showing them the film, of course, is going to be very helpful. But, you know, if you're not credentialed, then it's very hard to talk to people. So, you know, and there's a ton of books out there, there's a ton of resources, but they're not all great. So I would say really focus on getting them the right information. Katie Gardnier says, felt that I've been alone going through this for the past 3 years until I found this organization. That's wonderful. You're so not alone. And unfortunately, statistics are showing that this is 22 million parents are being erased from their kids' lives in the US alone. I divorced an officer, and my son and I have been alienated from my 9-year-old daughter. Oh my God, that's so sad. For 3 years. Courts won't do anything. 3 years of fighting strong, and I'll continue. I'll never give up. Wow, that's really, really hard. Steve Kreisner, is there a certain age where kids are more vulnerable or rather susceptible to being alienated? So I don't have the research necessarily on this, but what I heard is that it's easier the older they get in a way, which is counterintuitive. Part of the reason why is because little kids can be taught to repeat certain things, but they don't know when they're supposed to say stuff and not say stuff, right? So often, you know, if questioned by a competent professional, the truth comes out. They'll say, you know, I hate daddy. Daddy is mean to me. Now that I said that, can I go see daddy? You know, like they're very, very innocent in that way. Teenagers, they can be manipulated because they want certain things or they understand what the consequences are. So to a kid, if you don't see dad, I'll give you a car. That can be very powerful. And the kid will be like, well, you know, I really want a car. Or they can understand what it's like to be kicked out, or they can understand what it's like not to have their college paid for. And or also just, you know, they're like, well, wait, it's so stressful to see the other parent and I get grilled. That's what a lot of kids I've heard. Every time I went to see one parent, I'd get grilled by the other. It was just so unpleasant. It was just easier not to see the other parent. And that's how this can occur. Ali Page, happy birthday, my beautiful firstborn, who I haven't seen in 8 years. Mommy loves you, Skylar Jaden. Oh, I'm so sorry you haven't seen him in 8 years. That's horrible. Oh, Myra, hi, I wish you could talk to my 19-year-old stepdaughter. Yeah, Myra, I will text you or message you afterwards because I would love to talk to you too and hear about your experiences. Any other questions about tomorrow's action, which is to change your profile pic on Facebook and other social media accounts to say erased, if you feel safe doing so, and putting something in your profile that explains how long it's been since you've seen your kid, how much you miss them, and why it happened. And that why should always be what the courts did or aren't doing. It shouldn't be because my ex is an asshole. Like, really stop talking about, you know, the ex. It's not helping the cause and it's not helping you reunite. Any other questions? Getting a lot of happy birthdays. So again, you want a snazzy t-shirt, we post the link on Facebook all the time, or go to the website, buy a t-shirt. It's a great talking point. It's like there's something about the term erased that really gets people attention, and it's an easy way to enter and use terms that everybody understands. And if you can and you have it already and you're excited to have this film get done, you can also go to the Erasing Family page and make a tax-deductible donation. And you can also tell your story. We have an easy platform where you can send a video tribute to your kids and tell your story in a survey form. And so far, only about 40 people have done it. And I'm like, you know, if we could get, you know, double those numbers, it's a very easy way to show what is happening to people, and also possibly your kids will see it one day, right? So so this is so important. Lori Ann Peck, thank you for everything you are doing to help children and raise family members. Thank you, Lori, for supporting. Hannah Volley, I haven't seen my daughter for this Christmas at all. I'm so sorry, Hannah, that's really, really tough. Self-care, stay strong, and, you know, give yourself permission to experience joy and to be happy, even if for a few minutes. Often parents who are going through this, they'll say that they feel guilty about feeling better. They'll feel guilty about talking, you know, not talking, but like, you know, it's not forgetting your kids to have a hobby, to develop a new relationship, to take some time for yourself, to walk in nature, to smile. And those expressions of joy, and this is, I know it's going to sound counterintuitive, it's going to help, because when you see your kid, and most parents I've talked to, at one point there is some chance encounter. They're walking down the street, they're at a party, kid needs emergency $200 and is like, can you Western Union me? You never know when this is going to happen. It's really out of your control, unfortunately, in a lot of cases. But if when that happens, you respond with love and joy, and they can see what a wonderful person you are, that is so super helpful. The kids are never like, why aren't you sadder? The kids who reunite have never said to me, I reunite because I saw what the true victim was my parent. They said, I saw there's this great loving person that wanted to be in my life and let me know what unconditional love is and cares about me. You know? So that's like super important. Let's see if there's anything else. Ooh, more questions. There's a woman who has a website and has info added for women with abusers who are cops or law enforcement, and more people have the resources. Well, Marianne, we'll just paste the website so people can see it. Katie Gardner, do you guys do any special events that people can attend? So all of our events are volunteer run, and the big event will be when the film is done, and then we will want people to find places to screen it. High schools, universities, churches, temples, synagogues, community centers, political organizing committees, Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, public libraries, movie theaters. We want people to see it and be able to talk about it. And coming together to see a movie is so much more powerful than watching on Netflix, right? But what we are doing right now are fundraisers to help finish the film, and anyone who is interested should email us with what their capacity is. It's a lot of work to put on an event, and we are saving all of our events that we will put on for when the film is done, because that's when it's going to have the most impact, right? And we're really working on this film and the accompanying impact campaign. We're talking curriculum materials, PowerPoints that you can give to people, possibly an accompanying book, resources, all that. If you want something now, email us and say what your capacity is. We put off a gala that was filmed and it was taped out for the Real Housewives of Orange County, starring Tamara Judge. And that event was about full-time work for 3 people for 2 months. So putting on a huge event is a lot of work. So we love to be there and help that, but it is a lot of work. And if it's something smaller, like a coffee or tea in your home, we can do that too. We are happy to appear by Skype or video conferencing to help keep costs down. Because all of the donations we are spending to complete the film. We're not doing a speaking tour before the film is finished. So, Amy Weiner, thanks. Thank you for all you're doing. No one talks about this. So glad you are, and your advice is amazing, spot on. Thank you, Regina Marie Delavan Valentino. When I get the occasional text message asking for something like a ride, and I can't do, the guilt and sadness is overwhelming. I work through it, but it isn't easy. Don't feel guilty. But if there's a way that you can accommodate, like giving them a ride, see what you can do, and if not, offer when you can do another ride at some other time. Marion Masters, what about table at the Women's March in Los Angeles? So that's a great idea. I honestly don't know when the Women's March is. So yeah, so that would be a great idea. Email us with details and what you need. Katie Garnier, I would love to get involved with the screening in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. We honor to get the word to help people know that they're not alone. As soon as the film is done, we'll be arranging screenings, hopefully by the end of this year. So if that's it, I'm gonna have to call it a day. We will also be back next Tuesday. Remember, so things to do this week. 1, tomorrow, change your profile sign to #erased. If you want to hold up a sign, please do that. If you're like, that's too much work, just like our page and then go to change my profile pic, and you can pick out the frame. That's step number 1. Step number 2, visit our website. Leave a video tribute there for your kid. Take our survey. This is the way that we get information about your story, is through the survey that we set up. We're not doing a poll. It's the simplest way for us to collect data. Number 2. Number 3, if you want to buy a snazzy t-shirt, you just go onto the website that's on my t-shirt and buy one, or just look at the links. And number 4, if you haven't already, make a tax-deductible donation to our film fund. Any donation of $50 or more will get your name in, we'll get a thank you, the credits, and a dedication to your kids. And this is super important because we are nearing the end, and we really need funds to make this film the best it can be and get an award-winning editor. Because I was in Hollywood yesterday talking to people who went down this road of making documentary films, and one piece of advice is that if you have a solid editor, that guarantees distribution, that guarantees that people are going to watch it. And I don't want, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not making this film for you and the people who are on this chat. I don't care if you see it or not, and you're going to be like, whoa, Ginger, okay, that sounds pretty crazy. Why are you making a film that you don't want me to see? Because you know what's happening. You unfortunately get it because you've lived it. You're living it, right? I want the people who have never heard of this to get it. And the power of film is it puts you in another person's shoes and allows you to empathize. Most importantly, I want the kids who just are like, they're like, well, I don't talk to mom because she's a bitch. Thank God she's not in my life. Well, I don't talk to dad because dad's an asshole. And thank God he's not in my life. And like, who cares about my half siblings? They're only half siblings. They're not full siblings. You know, it'd be great to have a dad, but not the dad I have. She's my birth mom. Like all that. If they can see other kids who went through this, who came out on the other side healthier and happier, that is so powerful for them. And that's how the change is going to begin to happen, right? That is how the change, that is how it's going to be the first step on a long road to building awareness. It's going to be the first step. But films can be very powerful. In 2011, a film called Bully came out. I think you can get it on Netflix or YouTube. I really suggest recommending it. I actually had the chance to sit down with the director and talk to him. Gave me tons of advice. But why am I mentioning this film called Bully? When the film came out in 2011, in the United States, about 24% of children in schools experienced some form of bullying. So that's 1 in 4. That's a huge number. And most of the time, schools would say, we can't get involved, we don't know what to do, it's kids being kids, they need to work it out. And the film created a huge shift. They got tons of kids to see the film. About 1 million kids went with their school, number one. Number two, they had conferences and curriculum packets. And people began to talk about bullying as something that can be untaught, that kids can be taught to be nice. They don't have to be friends, but they have to be polite to each other. They can't be abusive to each other. And today, the same poll says that 12% of kids are being bullied in school. So that's still a lot. But that means in 7 years, a 50% reduction in the number of kids being bullied. And that movie had a huge impact. And that's what we want to do with this issue. That's what we want to do with the Erasing Family, is have that level of impact to reach those kids and show them why their family is important. You know, and I often say, like, you can love your family, you can hate your family, but don't erase them. Don't pretend like they don't exist, because that is a form of madness, right? So, you know, it's not about saying that everyone will have a perfect ideal relationship where you spend, you know, every night eating dinner with your kids and every weekend together, and it's just, oh, so wonderful, because no family's like that, right? Like, let's live in the real world. But we should have kids who are engaging with their parents, who love and accept them. And, you know, for some kids, you know, if that parent isn't all right in the head, it might mean having a limited relationship. But there is a huge difference, and ask any competent psychologist. There's a big difference between saying, I have issues with one of my parents, and I don't have a parent. I was magically born in a cabbage patch. John Lindbergh, I'm a professor and would like to show the film at my college and in my anthropology class. Thank you, John. That would be wonderful. We actually interviewed an anthropologist in the film who talks about this from an anthropological standpoint. Samantha Smith, I'm not erased yet, but I see it going that way. My 13, 10-year-old are saying that they don't want me in their life, running away during visitation with me, etc. Their dad's threatening to take my kids away, and they would be better off without me. Any advice to prevent from being erased? Okay, so the first thing is to take a deep breath and know that you might do everything right, and the results might not work in your favor, because we unfortunately don't have a family court system and a professional network that understands this, and there's very few resources. Here's some things to try. The first of all, you know, is to be neutral, not get upset to the kids no matter what they say. That doesn't mean not putting limits on them, but, you know, if you say, how dare you, you need to respect me, you know, they're not going to, it's just going to confirm their bias against you. So try to keep the visits as positive as possible, number one. Number two, can you right away, and this ASAP, find a way to get the kids, when you have exchanges, in neutral territory? Can you pick them up from school? And that's not good. This is pretty awful, but sometimes it works. Police parking lot where there are cameras, or public space. Don't drop and pick off at people's houses. The reason for that is that it can become too dramatic and tense. So if you can not be in the same place when the exchange happens, great. And if you have to be, at least in a public area, right? There's the famous McDonald's as an option. Number 2, what allies can you find now? What allies in his family do you think would be open to talking to you and helping you? The answer might be nobody, but often there's, you know, the sister-in-law who you still have coffee with once in a while, somebody who might be able to see what's going on. And it's not the idea to complain and be like, you know, your brother's, you know, crazy doing all this. Just be like, I really want to read in my kid's life. I see this happening. So you know there's a name for it. What can we do? Can you help me to prevent this from happening? Because I want to have a relationship with you and with the kids. I want the kids to be healthy, and exposing them to this sort of tension and stress isn't good for them, right? Not family members or someone else who's neutral in your life who can maybe intervene. Sometimes, and this is rare, if a parent is doing this because they want something, they want revenge or they want money, you know, if someone that they respect kind of tells them what they're doing isn't healthy and isn't good and is bad for the kids, it might help modify their behavior. If they suffer from a personality disorder, or, you know, as we say, you know, and the kids say, you know, batshit crazy, it's a lot harder to deal with this, right? So I think being strong and happy for your kids is an important part. Start documenting stuff. If anything's missed, start keeping a record of that. You know, what I'm not going to say, and this you have to think of very carefully, is to like lawyer up or go to court right away. In some cases, it is the best option, but often it's not. So, and if you do go that route, to go with your eyes open, monitor everything that's happening, read everything your lawyer writes, keep tabs on your lawyer, and don't just like let them say, oh, I'll take care of this. Like, you really have to be on top of it and think outside the box to have a good legal strategy. Even then, there's no guarantees. But if you go in just trusting the lawyers and trusting the system will help you, you are screwed before you start. So I hope that helps, Samantha. Yeah, Rochelle Corbin says, Samantha, don't wait or depend on the courts to fix it. I completely agree. And prevention is, you know, prevention is better than trying to cure it. Kids in therapy, document everything good, going through a 7:30 evaluation, being the best mom I can be, but feeling like I'm hanging on for dear life. Keeping a positive attitude is so strong, and just also knowing that if something bad happens, you did the best you can, and that there is hope in the future. But if it gets worse, don't beat yourself up over it, and find yourself a therapist. Your kids are in therapy, find a therapist for you, right? Number 1. So you have a place to then, you have a place to, you have a sounding board, and ideally should be someone who dealt with these issues. The other thing about kids in therapy, this is something to be very, very careful with. Not all therapists know about this issue. Therapy can often make it worse, because the problem with therapy, anyone who's been in therapy, right, is, this is going to sound very obvious, but you know, you go to therapy, your therapist sits here, and you tell them stuff, and the therapist listens. And the therapist is your confidant and is on your side. Now, if you're saying lies, how does the therapist know that you're lying? So if a kid comes in and says, you know, I hate my mom, I don't want to see her, why? Well, every time I go over there, it's just like so horrible and stressful. You know, the therapist might say, well, you know, you need to put limits, and you need to say to your mom, Mom, I'm not going to see you anymore. So that could be a problem. So, you know, that's why a lot of people say that sometimes kids therapy isn't the best. What works better is something where the whole family gets involved, because the person who needs the therapy isn't really your kids, it's your ex, right? So just something to keep in mind. And of course, people who need the therapy resist it. So I'm not giving this as an easy solution, but don't just be like, oh, the kids are in therapy. You know, really engage with a therapist and try to understand what's going on. Obviously, there's confidentiality there, but, you know, ask, you know, can you go in for a joint session? Can you go in as the whole family? Because that's better than just the kids in therapy, right? They might want that and they might need that. But I've heard very negative things when the kids are in therapy for here and maybe the parents have some therapy, because then everyone just hears kind of this one side. And when you have, your kids aren't depressed or anxious, the family is having a breakdown in the dynamic. So you need someone who can help fix the dynamic, not necessarily do therapy about, how does it make you feel? How does it make you feel to not be able to have a relationship with your mom? It makes me sad. Well, maybe you should journal about it. It's better than nothing, but it's not a great solution. When dealing with trauma, there's two things to do. One is to treat the feelings of the trauma, but the most effective thing is to stop the trauma from happening. There's the classic case of cholera in England where everyone was getting sick from cholera and dying. Finally, this doctor discovers that there's this well that's infected with cholera, and he shuts down the well and people stop dying, and that's way more effective than trying to give medicine for cholera, right? I'm not even sure if there's medicine for cholera. It might just kill you. I don't know. But, so you really need to find a therapist or a provider or a social worker or a coach or someone who can help with that dynamic, and not just listen to the kids feeling sad because they're being tortured. And it's very hard, but if your ex is open, family as a family unit, that's better than nothing if you have a good practitioner, and that if is very important. Sorry, let me see. Don't forget, Regina Marie says, don't forget to take care of yourself. Blair Chris, thank you. This group, this group is great. Now I do not feel alone. I've used it to what's happened in simple terms, to explain in simple terms with others. See you tomorrow. Your profile pics great. Lorianne Pack. I pray your phone creates a shift in how judges see the bully, alienating parent and stops the abuse. That's the idea. And what's interesting is I was filming in Canada, and I talked to a woman, I think a social worker, who works a lot with these cases. And first of all, in a small town in Canada, just the number of cases, like population 90,000, and she gets 12,000 contacts a year about this. And I'm like, whoa, that's a huge problem. She's like, yeah. And she talked about a case where a father, this was in the news when I was there, killed his 2 daughters and then shot himself, which is like this extreme case of, alienating behavior. It's the ultimate case, right? And, what she talked about was, why did the system see the illness that was happening, the danger these kids were in, and step in beforehand? And it's not about punishing, it's about identifying and retraining behavior, and that behavior can be retrained because someone is ill, finding a way to limit it. And that's not what's happening now, I would say this is about blaming somebody, because if somebody's doing this, they must be so hurt and broken inside to erase their ex-partner for no good reason. That is sickness, and it's sad, right? So we want a system that helps people get better, not, because a lot of people say, like, jail the alienator. And quick little story, I lived 13 years in Argentina. If you interfere with custody or visitation, it's punished by 3 years in jail. How many people do you think are in jail in Argentina right now for violating custody orders? Give you a hint. Lots of people violate custody orders in Argentina. You can even see my first film about this, Erasing Dad, for free on erasingfamily.org. See if anyone guesses. So anyone wants to guess how many people in Argentina are in jail, getting up to the 3 years penalty for interfering with custody or visitation? Anyone? Going once, going twice. Okay. 0. No one has been ever convicted of this, or if they have been convicted, they've been given a suspended sentence. Because then people say, well, we don't want to send a parent to jail because then the kid's going to lose the, So the answer isn't jailing people, it's education. And when the education doesn't work because that person is sick, it's finding a way to treat the mental illness or to limit its effects. Tammy Owen, thank you so much for your support and resources. Alienation is hell. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Marian S-Step, every time I find my grandson on a site where I can speak to him, my daughter and son-in-law block us. Very common. You're not the only person that happens to, but it's good that you're trying. Let's see, anyone else? Rochelle Coburn said none. Yes, that was the correct answer. So if nothing else, remember tomorrow, erased profile pic. On the website, you can order t-shirts, you can tell your story, you can leave a video tribute, you can get a dedication to the film if you donate $50 or more, so use the website. And like I said, we're so close to finishing the film, and we hope to have it done within a year, get it out there, but not just get out a film. The film is the excuse to get people talking. And if you look at what happened with Bully, and this is such a great case study, beyond the 1 million kids who saw Bully, which is amazing and fabulous, and saw it in movie theaters before Netflix and streaming was such a big thing, people talked about it. I was watching a Netflix comedy special last year, and the comic mentioned a scene from Bully, and that's what we want from this film, for people to begin to talk about it. Even if they don't watch the whole film, then they watch the trailer and they go, oh, that happened to me. Oh, that's happening to my boyfriend. Because, you know, a lot of the kids who do reach out, it's because someone encouraged them. You know, they'll say something like, my boyfriend's like, what do you mean you don't talk to your mom? That's crazy. Talk to your mom. Or my psychiatrist said, I need to talk to my dad. So if we get people to know about this and encourage people to encourage these kids to reach out, that is so much of the battle right there. Marian Masters, I have a dream. I tell all there are more of us than them. If we stand side by side, we can stop it. We together have the power. Love conquers and awareness is key, but we need more wins. Solidarity is key. What if all of our resources got together in one place? How powerful could that be? So Marianne, I think that's a great idea. About every month, someone contacts me and says, I'm starting a website or a group where everyone can get together who's suffering from this. And honestly, they don't work because people are attracted to different groups for different reasons. So what we're doing at the Racing Family is something different. We're saying this film will be a tool for anybody who's suffering from this and anybody who's doing advocacy work. We're not about controlling their message or what they're doing. Because for some people, they're very comfortable lobbying legislators. I'm not. I would hate to do that. Some people are very comfortable having events or having protests. I'm a filmmaker and a storyteller who tries to get complex subjects into something narrow. That's what I'm good at, and my team is good at. You don't want me like talking to legislators. Like that's not. I'm not a backslapping, you know, lobbyist type of person. There are some parents who are listening to this who probably are. You know what? You should be talking to your Congress member about this. There are some parents who are listening to this right now who maybe they're president of the PTA or Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club or something like that. You should be having a presentation about this, you know? Find where your strength is and multiply it. We're not all good at the same thing, and that's wonderful. So, you know, and, you know, these things, they have to build. So a lot of times people are like, oh, let's do this huge march. And then like 50 people show up, which is great, but that's not a huge march. So it's not going to get press. So being realistic about what you can do. But can you do an interesting action that gets pressed with 50 people? Hell yes, you can. It's about being creative. It's about finding something symbolic that, you know, grabs people's attention, you know? And so you have to think outside the box a little, but like having a big march, like if, you know, you can't do a 1 million person march on Washington with 50 people, but, you know, you can do an interesting silent protest with 50 people. You can have a great lobbying day with 50 people, right? So, we all need to get together and focus on what we're good at. And with that, I think it's good. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday at the same time. Please change your profile pic tomorrow. I want to give a big shout out to all of the supporters who have supported the film. Within the past month, we've had 2 more associate producers come on board, which are people who donated $1,000 or more, so that's excellent. People are talking about supporting us in different ways. And just another quick shout out, if you have airline miles that you're not using, please email us. It's a great way to get a tax deduction for you. And for us, if we don't have to spend money on airline miles, it means more money gets to be used in the film. So just throwing that out there. Some people have extra ones, and we can definitely use them. So thank you so much. See you next Tuesday. Bye.